Hi everyone, welcome to week 3. This week we add some additional basic elements for writing a simple scholarly paper, and we'll begin the work for our first short paper next week. Successfully doing these assignments will put you ahead for next week, so let's learn about outlining the paper, writing body paragraphs, and locating credible supporting evidence. But first, a few tips. Your feedback notebook should be guiding you now as you continue with your assignments. It will be the expectation that in week 4, your paper will apply all of the feedback you've received in weeks 1 through 3. The best way to do that is write it all down in the same place. So I encourage you to do this. Weekly videos are very helpful to explain, and it's certainly easy to tell who has not watched the videos when the assignments come in. So I would suggest that you take a few minutes of your time and do that. Please watch the announcements carefully, read it in a detailed manner, because there will be some things in there that will help you. And most of all, let's get the issues fixed. So if we're giving out some temporary 2s in these first 3 weeks, it's very important that you do that because there's a reason for it. And that reason is that you haven't quite nailed it. And these skills will be used in weeks 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So let's get it fixed now. For our first discussion question, we're going to talk about credible websites. For scholarly and academic work, the sources used to support the claims must be credible. This means that they are unbiased, they are presenting a balanced point of view, they are well researched. So instead of opinions, which do not count in academic writing, there is actual evidence that what they are saying is true based on the research of the writing. And they're accepted as trustworthy by experts in the field who have taken the time to put their stamp of approval on it, and this is called peer-reviewed research. Websites are created by whoever and whatever, and so this is a different situation because to analyze a website takes a little more work because these are not peer-reviewed. So how do you know if it is credible or not? Well, there could be an author listed. If so, you should check out their credentials. If there is no author, perhaps there will be a credible organization standing behind that. Then can you find a list of references? We put references on our simple papers. Do they have references? What is the motivation of the site? Are they trying to sell you something? And certainly, is there a bias? In other words, are they only looking at one side of the issue? If this is true, it's not a credible website. Some examples of websites that could be or may not be credible are noted by their endings. The .gov for government is a website that is usually considered credible, such as the FDA, the CDC, the World Health Organization. These are considered credible. EDU endings are educational organizations such as universities, and they are considered credible. .com endings mean commerce, and so they are considered questionable, since they're often selling things. Now, at points, you may be able to get some credible information out of there, but these need to be checked very, very carefully. They can be oftentimes a source of just a selling point, and so you have to wonder if what they're telling you is actually true, since they're trying to make money. The .org, standing for organization, can either be credible or questionable, depending on the organization. So if you have a site that is the American Medical Association or the AMA, .org, that would be considered credible. But if you have something like Americans Against, and then you fill in the blank, .org, you might wonder if they're if they could be a little biased. So check out any site before using it, and remember that the library databases like EBSCO are the most credible sources, and they are expected to be used more than websites in all of the programs at GU. After you complete your assignment, the discussion question area for reading and the directions and all of that, then I want you to go to this site. This site will be an interesting site for you to analyze. Take a look at this and make up your own mind as to whether you think it's credible or it's not credible, and why. You can't just say, I don't think it's credible. You have to have reasons. So go check that one out as an example of either credible or not credible. Then additionally, find a minimum of 3 websites and analyze each one. Decide if you think it would be reliable or not. Should you use this for research for your paper, for support for your evidence, or not? And so you can discuss that with your peers. Just list all of the sites, discuss what you found, what decisions you made, and mostly why or why not did you make the decision you made. Secondly, we're going to look for resources now. So number 1, in discussion 1, we're talking about credibility. And secondly, we're going to talk about resources. Which resources would work? How do you find them? How do you find good ones? So for just a minute, let me take a look at how you get into the library database and what you do. This is your GLive page. And if you go up to the top, right up here, I'm going to make this circle big so it catches your eyes. I'm in the top right-hand corner. And focus in on library and click on that. That will bring you to a number of options. Since we're in healthcare, let's use this one. You have EBSCO and you have Ovid. EBSCO has tons of stuff in it, so does Ovid, but let's just try this one today to see. You should look around and play with some of this. But if you click on EBSCO, you're going to find this. And click on CINAHL with full text. That brings you to a search screen. So let's see. Let's talk about the topic of death. Well, as we've said before, that's a pretty big topic. You've got to narrow it, but let's just take a look and see what we get if we were to search on the word death. You can see that indeed there are 206,368 articles in EBSCO that contain something about the keyword death. Now, I don't know about you, but that's just more than I have time to take a look at. And so what we could do here is come down to this left-hand panel and put some limits on it, and that will knock out some of these. So let's make it a full text, and it's going to update. Full text allows you to read the full text, and that's important. Notice that we're now down to 39,000, so that chunked out a bunch. Then take a look at the publication dates. We have articles in EBSCO from 1938 to 2020. Well, we know that we don't want to use anything older than 5 years, so I'm going to put this little slider up here. We're going to make it 2015. Oh, I think I will. There it is. To 2020, it's going to update, and notice that we're now down to 17,000, almost 18,000. You could further limit this by going over here to the academic journals. Click on academic journals because that is certainly what we want, and that brings us down to about 16,000. Well, that's still a lot. And death. We're probably not going to talk about such a wide-ranging subject. So let's click on advanced search. Do you see it right here? Advanced search. That allows us to put in another keyword. So let's put in opioids. And now we're talking about death from opioids. And this is going to allow us to search a little more in a limited way. Again, let's do full text right here. And the reference dates are going to be from January 2015 to, well, I guess we're going to say June at this point, 2020. We could put in peer reviewed if we wanted to, and because that's what we want. And let's see what other limiters we might have down here. So you could choose a research article. You have some other things to choose, but I think that we've done enough for right now. Let's just see what happens when we search on this. Now we're down to 273. That's still tons, but it certainly does get us closer to our goals. So just for the fun of it now, start reading through, looking at the titles. You can take a look and just go down and see if you see something that would be what you want, the direction you're going. So let's look at one with both an HTML and a PDF. So let's just take this one. You can look at this either in the PDF form, which looks like that, or you could use the HTML full text, which is just another way to look at it. I personally don't like HTML, so let's go back to the full text. So this is actually kind of what it looks like in the journal that it came from. So you can kind of read through there, take a quick review of it if you want to, and see what's in there. But actually, before I do that, I like to come over here to detailed record. It's right up at the top, detailed record, and it will give you some detailed information. Let's look at that. So it lists the authors out clearly. It lists, here's the journal that it came from, the dates and so forth. It does give you an abstract. And while we do not read or write abstracts in Grantham for the most part, we can use an abstract to determine whether or not it's an article that we need. So you'll notice that our two keywords, opioid and death, is lit up. They're bolded so that you can see how many times does this really occur in the article, and you can see it's all the way through the article. So that part's good. If you came to the abstract and it only had it listed once or twice, you might wonder if this is really the right article for your topic. But if you read the abstract, you will get an overview, a little summary of what's in there. So reading this first is very helpful, because then you go like, no, it's really not what I'm talking about, or, oh, this is really focused on what I want to talk about. So you'll know whether it's something that you want or not. Down here at the bottom, if there is a DOI, it will be listed right here. So that's helpful information. Now, if you look on the right-hand side, there are a number of choices, a number of tools you could use. You could create a folder and add it to the folder. You could print it. You could email it to yourself, which I actually find helpful sometimes. Just go email and it'll end up in your email box. And then when you go to look, you have all these articles nicely lined up. So some people like that. This one is the one, however, that we want you to use this week for this assignment. And I would suggest that it's probably helpful to use it all the time. It's the cite function. So while you need to create a reference entry for this article, you also need to cite it. And so by clicking on cite, it's going to bring up a screen that's very interesting. If you look down through what's in here, you're going to see a whole bunch of different style guides, because there's more than one, there's more than APA. But obviously that's what we're using. So here is your APA reference. This has been created by a machine. And the problem is it's been created by a machine, and so it's not always correct. In fact, EBSCO says review the instructions and make any necessary corrections before using. Pay special attention to personal names, capitalization, dates. Always consult library resources for the exact formatting and punctuation guidelines. So what this is saying is it could be wrong. So it's up to you to determine whether or not this is correct. Now, it's a good start, and I will say that most of the time, these citations are going to be correct or very close. But if they're just close and they're not correct, you are responsible for that. So you've got to take a good look and see whether or not you think this fits. Well, as we look at it, we have last names and first initials and commas separating all of these authors. That looks good. We have a date and it's in the right spot. And here comes the title. And then we have, I don't know if this is part of the title, actually. I guess it is. The 2011 through 2016 is part of the title. Then the journal article, the volume, the issue, the page numbers, and the DOI. So on the surface, it looks like, yeah, that's good. But if you copy and pasted this into your paper, which you can do, just copy paste them, you're going to find that I will make a comment that it's not correct. Now, can you look at this? I'm going to give you just a few seconds. I want you to look at it and see if you can figure out what's wrong with it. If you said that there's something wrong with the title, you would be correct. And that is, it should be sentence case, not title case for a journal. So that means that there are a lot of capitalized words that shouldn't be there. The only capitalized word should be the first word, identifying. These should all be lowercase. And then the first word after a colon is capitalized. So there are only two words that are correct. The words identifying, excuse me, as the first word, and the first word after a colon. The rest of them need to be fixed. Now, Marion County is a proper name, a proper noun. So we're going to leave that capitalized. It would be like the United States or somebody's name. So you're going to leave those kinds of things capitalized, but the rest of it should not be. And other than that, it looks pretty good. So you would just copy and paste it and then fix it on your paper. So we want you to use the cite function this week. And I think you'll learn to like it, but again, you cannot trust it. And sometimes you'll just go along and like, oh, there's nothing wrong with it. And that could be true. But for sure, it is your responsibility to double check that. So now we found one article, and we did that in just a matter of moments. This doesn't take very long. I would go through, find a bunch of articles that you think, yeah, that might work. Yeah, that might work. I think this one's good. Email them to yourself, perhaps, pull the cite function up, grab those references, throw them all on a paper. And then when you are ready, you can begin to work. Your research really doesn't take that long. Now, of course, you have to sit down and read through it and see what you want, what you don't want. But finding them is very simple and very quick. So that's how to search the library database in a very simple manner. You can certainly learn more about the advanced functions, but for our work in this course, it's not necessary. So what do? You're first going to choose a healthcare topic for the week 4 essay. Before you go into the library database, figure out what you want to talk about. Secondly, find 3 references in the library database concerning your topic that are no older than 5 years. Use the cite function, and then post those references in APA format, correct APA format, into the discussion forum, where you will describe how did you make your decision about choosing content, how did the process go, questions you might have. You'll be talking with your peers about all of this. So at the end of discussion question 2, you have a topic, you have 3 references, which is all you need, unless you want to do more, but I don't encourage you to do tons more. I want to keep this simple and basic. And so for week 4, you've already got some of the pieces. All right, let's take a look at assignment 1, preparing to write. You're going to use the topic that you chose in the discussion question for the week 4 essay. Here's what you're going to do. Prepare a new Word document with the title page and the content page and the references page. Now, you know what the title is. You create a title from whatever your topic is. The content page would require you to place that title again at the top. And the references page you can fill out. You now have 3 references. So you're going to put those in alphabetical order and consult the website or consult your text for articles that are journal articles. 3 journal articles that have come out of there. The title is going to be level 1, and we do this for a couple weeks because we want you to not have to do so much work. So your title is going to function as a level 1. It's going to be bolded. It's going to be just the title. You just stick it up there as the title, but it's also going to act as a level 1. If we didn't do this, then we would have to create another level 1, and it just adds another layer, which we don't need to do for simplicity and timing. Then you need to add two level headings, two level 2 headings that are correct for your title topic. In other words, you have the title and you think, what 2 ways can I talk about this or subdivide this information? So you need to find 2 ways to do it, and those are going to be your level 2 headings. Now, I don't want 3 level 2s. I don't want level 3s. I want this to be very, very simple. This short paper should demonstrate all the skills, and later we'll expand that a little bit, but not this time. So you have your title, which is level 1, you have 2 level 2 headings, and then you can put in the conclusion, which is technically a title 1, I'm sorry, a level 1, but you can put it on the paper just to make it look real nice if you want. So again, these subdivisions must reflect the content in just 2 different ways. You're also going to place the references you found on the reference page, and you're almost ready to just start writing next week. Now, the authors that are used to support your evidence are also put into the body of the paper. And that is in the form of an in-text citation placed at the end of a sentence that refers to that author's information. So for instance, here's a reference entry. We found an article with Flynn and Stevenson, and we have that formatted correctly and in the reference article. But inside the text where you're writing, wherever you're paraphrasing something that Mr. Flynn and Mr. Stevenson said, you're going to add this in-text citation at the end of the sentence. So it would look like this. Artificial intelligence is used to develop better clinical decisions. Flynn and Stevenson, 2018, period. Notice that the period goes on the outside of the in-text citation because it's included as part of the sentence. It's a piece of the sentence, so that's why the period has to go on the outside. Keep in mind that you need to create this in-text citation because without it, the paraphrase will be plagiarism. If you don't have a way to show where you got that information from, it's incorrect. So it's not enough to have reference entries. You must point at what point in the paper, where does that information come? And so we must create those in-text citations. And all it takes is the author's last name and the year of publication. That's it. They're simple. You can consult the APA website at this address or your manual, your ebook, section 8, starting on page 173 for further information. But let's just take a look quickly. And once you figure out how to do those in-text citations, you're also going to put those in the paper as the ones from the reference page. So there are 3 reference entries. There should be 3 citations minimum there in the in-text citation. So for one author, how do I do it? Simple, easy breezy. Last name, comma, year, and then close it. That's it. Anyone can do this. These are so simple thanks to APA 7. 2 authors. Well, I put 2 last names and the year. The difference here is you use the ampersand instead of the word and. So 2 authors, Smith and Morris, comma, date, and close it. What about for 3 or more authors? What do I do now? It's going to get messier, right? No, it's actually simpler. So for any reference that has 3 or more authors, it could be 20 authors, it could be 10 authors, At one point, I think the APA folks found 1,500 authors. I think that's some kind of a record, 1,503 or something for an article. So it doesn't matter. If you have 3 or if you have 1,500, you're going to do this in-text citation exactly the same way. The first author's name, Johnson, et al., period, comma, year. Now, the et al. In Latin means and another. The word all, or the abbreviation, I should say all, right there, is an abbreviation. It stands for a longer word, but we shorten it. So that's why, just like United States can be shortened to US, but you put a period behind the U and behind the S to reflect the fact that those are abbreviations and not the full words. So the all is an abbreviation, put a period behind it, and then your comma. So that's it. I mean, this is so simple. There shouldn't be any errors on in-text citations because they're just too easy to do. You have 3 ways of doing it. There they are, and that's all you need to do. So let's take a look now what your assignment would actually look like. And I'm using the topic of large dogs make the best pets. We're going to pretend that we're on our content page now, page 2. So the title goes up at the top, it's bolded, but instead of just a title, we're going to use it as a level 1 to help ourselves out just a little bit. Then I'm going to place a little piece like this just to remind me that I have to put a paragraph between my title, level 1, and my level 2. 2 levels of headings can never touch each other without a paragraph in between. So I just put that there to remind me. That's where the introduction will go. Then here come my 2 level 2s. So I'm going to divide this topic of why large dogs make the best pets with 2 pieces of evidence from my thesis statement, loyalty and protection. So I can't remember exactly how we stated that now, but those were 2 pieces of evidence. If you have a topic or a thesis statement with 3 or 4 pieces of evidence, then you would use those as the main ideas, and you'd have 3 or 4 level 2s in this case when you use the title as a level 1. So keep that in mind when you create your thesis statement for that introduction. It's not going to have 3 pieces of evidence. It won't have 4 pieces of evidence. We only need 2 pieces of evidence because for this assignment, you are only supposed to create 2 level 2 headings. So there they are. We put in a conclusion and it looks real good. However, the addition is that you are to place your in-text citations from your reference entries in the correct spot that they go. So I saw an article by Mr. Ruff, and I'm going to place it. He talked about dog loyalty. So I'm just going to place that as just a placeholder for now, right under that topic to remind me that that is my reference, and I'm going to create a sentence that will work around that. And for the Bark and Growl article and the Lick et al. Article, because it wasn't just Mr. Lick that did that article, there were about 5 authors, so we chose the Lick et al. Format. And I'm going to just place them there to remind myself that these 2 authors are sharing this topic of protection. And Mr. Ruff was the only article I found on loyalty. So now there they are. Your paper is prepped. You have your reference sheet done. You are ready to go. You're ready to write. And this is going to be what you use in week 4. So look how much you already have done. You'll all be prepped and ready to roll. Let's see, there was something else I was going to say, but I forgot. Maybe I will think of it when I come back later. All right, assignment 2 then are the meal paragraphs. So for body paragraphs, we're not talking about introductory paragraphs. Those are broad to narrow, and the thesis statement is there and the evidence, and we've talked about all that. This is a different kind of paragraph. these are the paragraphs that you're going to place as the content of your paper. And they go under these headings. So it's going to be really important that you work to understand how to put one of these together. And they're not hard, but I need for you to do this because in the week 4 paper, we need to have meal paragraphs in all the body content. So here's how they go. M stands for main idea. You need one sentence, your first sentence, as a sentence that refers to the first level 2 in this case. The main idea, what is the paragraph talking about? It's the topic sentence, if you've learned it to say it that way. The main idea of the paragraph, and the reader must immediately understand what you're going to talk about when they read that first sentence. The second sentence is the evidence sentence. So I'm saying that dogs are the most loyal of all the breeds. I can't just say that. That's my opinion, and opinions do not count in academic writing. There is no place for an opinion. The only place that is available is a place of evidence, of proving it, of knowing that what you say is substantiated somewhere in the research. So this sentence will have the evidence, and this sentence will have that in-text citation. So we might say, Mr. Ruff, according to Mr. Ruff, or actually let's not do it that way because I want you to keep these as parentheticals at the end. So according to one study, it showed that large breed dogs were 58% more loyal than mid-sized dogs, and that they were 75% more loyal or protective, whichever topic we're talking about, than small breed dogs. So the evidence thing, you went to that article, Mr. Ruff, and you pulled that out. He said so. He conducted the research. He's the expert. And so you pull that out and say it, okay, now I'm proving it, and I'm going to put that evidence, that little piece of citation behind it to prove that's where I got it from. The third sentence is an analysis or an explanation of what you just said. So perhaps in your own words, then you just say, this means that, or maybe you can say what the importance of it is. The importance of being protective is, in some way, you're going to analyze those first two sentences and kind of re-explain it to your reader, make sense of it. The so what? All right, they're very loyal. Here's the evidence, but so what? And then finally, your last sentence will be a lead out sentence, which is going to point you to the next topic below it. Let me show you how this works. So sentence 1, the main idea. Sentence 2, supporting evidence, and that's going to have your citation. Sentence 3 is an explanation, and sentence 4 is a transition statement to link the ideas from one M to the next M. Let's see how this would really look. I have color-coded these according to the M and the AE, the A and the L. And as I give you feedback, you will be seeing M, E, A, and L as reference points in the comments so that I don't have to write the whole thing out. So let's look at the first one. I'm talking about dog characteristics here. I found a place for my intro. My two level 2 headings are listed as protective and faithful. So meal sentence or meal paragraph, a commonly accepted characteristic of dogs is to be protective of their owner. That tells what this paragraph is going to be about. Notice that it points back to the word protective. The second sentence is our evidence sentence. Studies show that dogs will place their own life in danger to protect their masters. And that was found by a study done by Mr. Whitt in 2016. So there's my evidence. I have to show where that came from. And that points back to my reference page. Now, let's explain about this a little more. An example of what I'm talking about here is going to be the way I explain it. An example from the California fires indicate that several dogs stayed by the sides of their owners during the home fires rather than flee. That was noted by a team called Johnson and Berry. Now, you analyze something and you take it from somewhere, of course, you're going to put another citation there if you need it. Sometimes you can explain it without doing that. But in this case, this is pointing to something that was written, so I need to also cite it. So not only are dogs protective, they are known to be faithful. Now notice what the sentence does. It connects the two M's. It connects the two headings, protective and faithful. Not only are dogs protective, that points to my first level 2, they are also known to be faithful. That points to my second level 2. So I'm kind of holding hands, protective and faithful are kind of holding hands in one sentence. And your reader knows, okay, I know what we just talked about and I know what we're about to talk about. So that is a lead out sentence. Hopefully that makes sense to you. If not, let me know. So that shouldn't take long. Assignment 2, make a copy of the outlined paper completed in week 3. So the assignment that you just did, let's back up to it. This, you make a copy of, or assignment number 2. All right, now let's go back. And we're going to choose one of those 2 level 2 headings. You can choose either one you want. And you're going to review your chosen research articles. You've already found them, just go back and review them. What did my article say about this level 2 heading that I've chosen? And then you're going to write a meal paragraph for that heading. It would be very helpful if you colored the parts of the meal paragraph and compare them with the M, E, A, and L. And the reason for that is for you to visually see that my M, my first sentence is an M because it points back to the level heading above it, that my E is indeed evidence, and that I have placed my in-text citation, that my A is really an explanation of what I just said, and that my L is grabbing hands with the M above and the M below and making one sentence to point where we're going. So it's helpful if you do that. Now, it could be that you choose your second level 2 heading to write this paragraph about. If that's true, your L isn't pointing to a different topic. It's pointing to the conclusion. Now, you wouldn't want to say conclusion in that sentence, but you need to point to the fact that you're winding up. So you can choose either of the level headings, that's fine. And one of those level headings will be done. I'm only requiring 1 meal paragraph for each heading. That way you can really take your time and structure this well. Once you get the idea of how to structure this, you'll be able to do it very, very simply as you go forward. So let's just spend the time to really create 1 meal paragraph for this week that conforms to everything so that you will grasp this concept. If you don't, it's okay. We can use temporary 2s. We can go back and take another run at it, penalty free, until you do get it. But this will be an important one. That's it. If you have questions, you know how to find me, and I hope you will. Please contact me with questions if you're confused, if you're not sure. And I'm also available to do a draft review this week. If you want to just send me either of those assignments and say, I'm not sure I'm where I need to be, can you look at it? I'll be glad to look at it, but I have to have it by Sunday because I will not entertain drafts on Monday. It won't give you time enough to really go back, look at it, understand the information, and make corrections. So if you have them into me by Sunday, I will be glad to look at it. I will return them to you by Monday so that you have a full 2 days to work with the information I provide. That's it, week 3. Isn't that great? This is going to be a fun week. It's not that hard. It's actually kind of fun to make these. So enjoy, and we will be talking soon. Thanks so much.